Good afternoon. Police have identified a suspect in the fatal shooting of a 15-year-old boy last June.
Now, a 20-year-old man is wanted for second-degree murder in the death of Jahkai Jack. CTV's Janice Golding's been following the investigation and joins us live with more. Janice.
Hey, Nathan, yes, police have arrested 2 men and are searching for a third in relation to the shooting of a Toronto teen last summer. Now, police say they have issued a Canada-wide warrant for this man, whom they have identified as 20-year-old Abdul Yebarababa. Yebarababa is wanted for second-degree murder. Last June, 15-year-old Jahkai Jack was shot in what police are calling an unprovoked attack that devastated his family. Investigators say Jack was just a young person meeting friends on a Saturday night when he got caught up in an altercation at a gathering in Mount Dennis near Jane and Emmett. On Tuesday, 19-year-old Jaden Samuel James was arrested in Toronto and charged with accessory after the fact to murder. And yesterday, 21-year-old Ravjir Gill was arrested in BC. He is now being transported back to Toronto, where he will also be charged with accessory after the fact to murder.
When I spoke in July, I issued a warning. I said that anyone who helped the person responsible, whether by assisting them in escaping, hiding them, or destroying evidence, could face charges for accessory after the fact of murder. These 2 arrests demonstrate that we meant what we said.
Investigators say they want the suspect to do the right thing, and that is speak to a lawyer and turn yourself into police. In the meantime, if you do know of his whereabouts or have any information, you're asked to contact Toronto Police or Crime Stoppers if you want to remain anonymous. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. The 6th complainant in billionaire businessman Frank Stronach's sexual assault trial is continuing her testimony today. The complainant broke down in tears multiple times yesterday, telling the court how she became a social recluse after Stronach allegedly sexually assaulted her in 1986. Stronach has pleaded not guilty to 12 charges linked to alleged incidents dating between the 1970s and 90s. Yesterday, prosecutors withdrew 1 count of forcible confinement related to the complainant on the stand.
A major update today to a story that drew countrywide attention last summer. Charges have been withdrawn against a man in Lindsay accused of assaulting an alleged home intruder last August. Kawartha Lakes police say the man woke up in his apartment to find an intruder carrying a crossbow, and the intruder was left seriously injured in an altercation. The resident was charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. That soon prompted calls for changes to self-defense laws from Premier Doug Ford and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. The Crown said today it has reviewed additional evidence in the current laws, and it's concluded there's no longer a reasonable prospect of conviction in this case. The alleged intruder still faces charges including break and enter and possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose.
Durham Regional Police are hosting an event this evening to showcase the newest members of the service.
They will be showing off drones that will be serving first responders as part of a new pilot program. CTV's John Musselman has been following this story. He joins us live now with more. John.
Well, Michelle, they're describing this as a new tool, a new technology that police can use. Certainly wouldn't replace police, but Durham Regional Police have produced a video explaining what they want to do here. It's called the Drone First Responder Program, and what that would mean, they would have these drones set up across the region, and depending on what the call may be, a missing person or a major accident, they can deploy these drones within 60 seconds to that area. It'll be piloted remotely, and then they can get a sense of what resources are needed at that call, and then officers will respond on the ground. Now, this isn't new. It's been used at other forces across the country, but also in this region. Peel Region and Halton Region are using these drones as well. Now, there are issues, of course, about surveillance, people's privacy. There will be an information session tonight hosted by the chief here in Durham Region to answer a lot of these questions. We showed this video to some of the residents in Whitby today to get the reaction. Here's what they told us.
The idea is great. Definitely saves time, saves life, and it's modern. And go catch up with the technology and use it to the best for the community. Yeah, yes.
Do you have any issues about privacy or the drone surveillance, anything like that?
Not really.
I think it's kind of cool.
What do you apply?
I think it'll help a lot of people. They'll get there quicker than most cops, I think.
Now, these are pretty high-tech drones, not just your regional consumer-type drones. They're much more advanced. There will be an information session, as I mentioned earlier, on Victoria Street here in Whitby tonight. That's where the chief and some of the people behind this pilot program will be available to answer questions with the public. Reporting live in Whitby, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. And Durham Police are investigating a house explosion in Oshawa over the weekend. Shortly after 10 p.m. Saturday, police were called to a home in the area of Gibbon Street and Annapolis Avenue for multiple reports of an explosion. And when they arrived, they found the home completely engulfed in flames. Fire crews were eventually able to extinguish the flames. No injuries reported. Durham Police, though, are asking anyone who might have information to come forward.
Still to come, Prime Minister Mark Carney's heading to India today. It marks the start of a trip aimed at improving relations with the world's most populous country. We'll have more on his mission a little later in the newscast. But first, the Premier is pushing for a change to give TTC special constables the power to arrest people using drugs on public transit.
He says it would be part of an effort to improve safety for all transit users. CTV's Sean Leithong has been speaking with commuters about the potential change. He joins us live now with more. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, it would be a new regulation that would allow special constables to have additional powers to stop anyone who's consuming illegal substances on the TTC or public transit in any way. Now, I talked to Sarah Kennedy from the Ontario Special Constables Association, and she said that they have always had these arrest powers, but as it stands right now, any special constable who arrests somebody for consuming an illegal substance on the TTC would put them through the criminal code. They would be charged with a criminal offense. But this new regulation would give them those arrest powers and put them through the provincial code, saying she would expect much less of consequence to these folks, but they would be forced to either stop doing what they're doing and or remove themselves from the TTC or any public transit. And if they fail to do so, then they could be arrested. Now, Premier Doug Ford was asked about that today, and he had some fiery responses for anybody who may be critical of this. And as I mentioned, we spoke to Sarah Kennedy as well, but we'll start with Doug Ford.
Do you understand people are scared to go on the subways right now? They do not feel safe on our subways. We have TTC constables, I think the world of them. They don't have full powers. I don't believe they should have full powers. Toronto Police should have full powers. But when you're sitting there and some guy's drugged out, he has a needle in his arm, jacking it into his arm, it's ridiculous. They need to get off the subways and make the subway the safest subways.
I'm expecting to see possibly a ticket, possibly what's called a summons, where we can say, okay, we're not giving you a fine, but we are compelling you to go before a justice of the peace and talk to them about this problem. And the reason why that's not the worst idea is because the provincial courts are really empowered to apply probation orders that require that party to engage in therapy or rehabilitation efforts. And isn't that better for everybody?
Now, I asked Sarah Kennedy how often this is seen on public transport, and she said every single day special constables are seeing people using illegal drugs on the TTC and elsewhere. Now, the public does have a chance to weigh in on this through the province. They was originally posted on January 30th, and they have until March 1st, which is this weekend. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. In other transit news, Metrolink says a person has died after they were struck by a GO train east of Guelph. Officials say this happened around 6:30 a.m., and that was the cause of widespread delays and cancellations on the Kitchener line this morning between Kitchener and Brampton. Additional bus service was rolled out. Metrolink says it thanks riders for their understanding. The Premier revealed the final design today for a revitalized Ontario Place.
He showed off new renderings of the waterfront property, which also include the Science Centre. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live now with more. Siobhan.
The Premier said he had a restless night last night. He couldn't sleep because he was so excited to show these drawings off. So today the government's announced that they've awarded the contract for the design, construction and maintenance of the Science Centre. It's about $1 billion. I'm standing in one of the pods that so many people will have memories of having visited at Ontario Place. This is part of the plan, the 5 pods. There's also going to be construction of a major new facility on the waterfront. So all of that together will be part of the Science Centre footprint. site. There's a lot of controversy about this. Of course, the site at Don Mills in Eglinton closed some years ago. The government says that was because there were fears that the roof could cave in. That hasn't happened. The government says, look, that building, even if it were to be refurbished, would be decrepit. They say that this footprint will be much more manageable, much more compact, a better use of space that will actually add exhibition space to what we saw in the previous location. Here's more of what the Premier had to say.
I'm proud to announce our government has awarded the contract to design and build the new Science Centre. The new Science Centre will be located in a state-of-the-art, fully accessible facility with more programming space than at the previous site. The Science Centre will incorporate the iconic Cinesphere. I just walked through that Cinesphere. It's going to be unbelievable. With improvements to support Ontario's film and television industry, renovated and modernized pods that will house science-themed exhibits, and interactive experiences with modern, light-filled spaces and views of Toronto's beautiful waterfront and skyline, which you can see in the final designs here today.
Now, critics say this project never needed to be undertaken, that the old Science Centre was perfectly fine, and that this new location is being used to justify the addition of a private spa on the waterfront. Now, construction on the Science Centre is slated to start this spring. The whole complex should open in 2029. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Diageo has closed its Crown Royal plant in Amherstburg 2 days ahead of schedule. The union representing workers at the plant says they were not given notice. They'd been scheduled to have their final day tomorrow. The company announced plans to close the plant 6 months ago, eliminating more than 200 jobs. The Premier had threatened to pull Crown Royal off LCBO shelves, but earlier this month announced that a deal had been reached with Diageo, which will see $1 million invested in new economic initiatives in Amherstburg. Critics of the deal say it does nothing to support workers who've lost their jobs.
The City of Toronto says it's seeing an increase in claims for damages due to potholes this year, as the number of potholes it has been able to fill has declined. As of Monday, the city received just under 1,200 pothole claims. That's a 40% increase compared to the same period last year. The city has also filled 35% fewer potholes, representing a drop of about 10,000 compared to last year. Earlier this week, the mayor indicated challenging weather conditions this winter have prevented crews from making as many repairs. Time now to turn our attention to the forecast. The culprit for a lot of those potholes, the freeze, the thaw. Luckily, right now, mostly clear. It is a bit chilly out there, and we do have clouds expected to move in later. But I think it's a lovely-looking afternoon with the wildlife, enjoying the water. Lindsay Morrison is here with all the details. Lindsay.
Yeah, I agree, Michelle. It looks like a lovely day. Maybe a good opportunity for some further snow clearing or pothole repair, perhaps. We've got sunshine outside in many different pockets of the GTA, with further clearing expected this afternoon. Chance of a few scattered flurries here and there. Another big change from yesterday, the winds are significantly lighter. They're still coming from the west and southwest, but again, pretty calm. Temperature-wise, yes, it is cooler. It's -4 degrees this hour at Pearson, -7 degrees in Bancroft. Good afternoon to you in Wyerton, -5 degrees where you are, and -4 this hour in Niagara Falls. Here's today at a glance. -1 degree is what we're forecasting for a daytime high, but tomorrow, we're going to get a little taste of spring. We'll talk about just how high above the freezing mark our temperature is expected to climb heading into the weekend. All of those details are ahead. For now, though, Nathan, going to send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Stats Canada is sharing some new insights into the new employment picture across the country. On the surface, total employment didn't change too much in December 2025, with about 8,200 jobs added nationwide. But the new report from Stats Can highlights some notable shifts in terms of the underlying trends in the economy and which industries are seeing the biggest impacts. CTV's Kamal Karamali joins us now with a closer look at the numbers. Now, December, Kamal's employment numbers are out, and it shows a surge of job vacancies, the highest we've seen in a year.
Nathan, the number of job vacancies has risen past more than 500,000 now after this latest number of job vacancies in December. So you can see the numbers here, not the direction you want employment and job vacancies to go, with employment down in the month of December compared to November, and job vacancies rising 23,000 more vacant positions across the country, once again totaling over 514,000 vacant jobs across Canada. The average weekly earnings for the average Canadian now is just over $1,300 per week. What sectors are being hit the hardest? Well, we saw that there's a major drop in employment in 9 sectors, led by manufacturing, wholesale trade, transportation, and accommodation. But look at the right of your screen. You're seeing a bit of an increase, more than 2,000 jobs and employment added to construction as well as healthcare, Nathan.
So, Kamal, what skills are being prioritized most in the labor market?
Yeah, you saw the difference there on that last graphic here. The right showing an increase in employment, and that was construction and healthcare versus a drop in things like educational services as well as transportation. And what we're hearing from experts is that's because those jobs that are seeing a decrease are largely being replaced by technology and AI. We've talked about this before, how AI adoption is accelerating, particularly in data-rich industries. And jobs and companies are having a tough time keeping up with the formal training programs can retrain the existing workforce. So many experts have said already more than half of all employees need reskilling due to the adoption of AI. And we're seeing it there, where we're seeing a drop in employment in those jobs that are easily being replaced, Nathan, by technology. All
right, important to know. CTV's Kamal Karmali in the CTV News National Newsroom. Thank you.
Anytime.
An international economic group is criticizing the federal government for its delays in appointing new parliamentary budget officers. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development ranks Canada first among OECD countries on its Fiscal Advocacy Index for the parliamentary budget officers' contributions to fiscal accountability. However, the report recommends strengthening the appointment process. The interim PBO's 6-month term ends on Monday, but no replacement has been named. If no budget officer is in place when that term expires, financial analysis cannot be published. The parliamentary budget officer is appointed for a 7-year term pending parliamentary approval. Canadian officials say they remain focused on pursuing a trade deal with the U.S., even after President Donald Trump doubled down on tariffs during his State of the Union address.
However, the Carney Liberals are expressing a willingness to turn elsewhere if they're unable to reach a deal south of the border. CTV's Mike LeCouture reports.
The State of the Union address?
Prime Minister Mark Carney says he didn't watch the State of the Union address, but there are impacts for Canada. President Trump made it clear tariffs are a key plank in his economic plan for the U.S.
The view of the American administration is that there'll be a price to access the American market. I think, every country of the world that I know of is paying a price. What I'm saying is that Canada is paying the lowest price.
But that price could be paid in jobs. The U.S. Trade Representative making it clear this is about moving manufacturing back to America.
We really want to focus on reshoring here. We want to have production here. We don't necessarily want to be dependent on China, Canada, or anybody else for things like cars and that kind of thing.
The U.S. has 50% levies on steel and aluminum going into their country and 25% tariffs on autos. It's why the Canadian government is trying to diversify trade away from our American neighbors.
GM and Stellantis have been cutting jobs here in Canada. Well, we will look towards Koreans, we will look towards Germans, and we'll look towards Chinese investments.
While looking for other trading partners, Canada continues to work on saving the trade deal with the U.S. and Mexico.
The Canadians, I was in contact with my counterpart just this morning. He's going to come to town in a couple weeks. They have a few ideas on how they might want to have a deal with us. We're obviously open to that.
By comparison, Dominic LeBlanc's office was far less committal. In a statement, a spokesperson for the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade would only say LeBlanc and Greer had a number of brief, informal exchanges in recent days about a potential in-person meeting in Washington in the near future. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is on his way to India to kick off a 10-day international trip. The PM and his wife Diana boarded the plane just before 10 this morning. This is his first overseas trip since his speech in Davos that called for middle powers to band together. Along with India, the Prime Minister will also visit Australia and Japan. Experts say that Davos speech changed how Canada is viewed by some countries, but it's still not clear how much Carney will be able to accomplish with this trip or whether he will sign significant trade deals. CTV's Jeremy Charon has been following the Prime Minister's trip. He joins us live with more. Jeremy, what is Carney aiming to achieve, specifically with India?
Yeah, Michelle, look, this is a trip to the Indo-Pacific looking to bolster trade relationship with these partners and you know, specifically India, a massive economy in the Asian market. And I think that's where many are focused on in terms of this trip and what will come of that trip to India. There is a lot of focus on, you know, bolstering a trade relationship. Canada and India have established that they are going to, at some point, you know, work towards a broader trade agreement. It is not expected that will be finalized during this trip, but certainly there will be a lot of work, you know, towards that end goal during this trip. We can expect defense, critical minerals, clean energy to be part of the conversations the Prime Minister will partake in during this trip. It is expected he will sign several memorandums of understanding in terms of any kind of significant official deal. Beyond that, you know, is not clear yet at this point. But there are also a lot of questions about this India trip beyond the efforts toward trade. You know, we heard yesterday from a senior government official during a tech briefing that, you know, it's the government's position that if they felt that India still posed a significant threat when it comes to foreign interference, that the Prime Minister probably wouldn't be going on this trip. That was a surprise to many of the reporters that were on that call, given that just last June, CSIS identified that India is one of the largest threats when it comes to foreign interference and espionage. And, you know, the Indian government has been accused of being tied to a 2023 killing of a Sikh activist on Canadian soil. There are many concerns still when it comes to establishing a new diplomatic relationship with India, given all of those things that remain a concern. And so there seems to be an effort, some kind of an effort ahead of this trip to India to diminish the concerns that exist and that could be coming from the Indian government. So I think that will also kind of, you know, make things difficult for the Prime Minister during this trip and will perhaps become a lot of the focus in terms of questions being asked of the Prime Minister and his team by the reporters traveling with him for this trip, this international trip.
Well, I'm sure Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has some questions. He is set to speak later this hour about what he feels Canada's trade priorities should be. What's the reaction been to Carney's travel on trade?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting speech by Mr. Poilievre because, you know, the whole reason the Prime Minister is traveling abroad, not just on this trip, but all of the other trips he's taken, is to, you know, try and diversify, you know, Canada's trade partners, look to build new relationships with other partners in the face of this new reality in the trade relationship that we have with the U.S. And that is exactly what Mr. Poilievre is expected to address today during a speech in Toronto, speaking to the Economic Club in Toronto. It'll be the first time we hear from the Conservative leader, at length at least, on the topic of Canada-U.S. trade and perhaps the threats that U.S. President Donald Trump poses to the future of a trade relationship between our two countries and what, if anything, he believes Canada should be doing as a result of that reality that now exists in the tension between Canada and U.S. when it comes to trade. So there are a lot of people watching very closely what Mr. Poilievre is going to say today in Toronto because he's expected to speak at length on a topic we have not heard him speak at length about. The Conservative Party and Mr. Poilievre during the last federal election shied away largely from talking about U.S. President Donald Trump and Canada-U.S. relations. It was not part of their, you know, political focus. So this could mark the beginning of you know, a bit of a shift in tone and approach by the Conservative Party and Mr. Poilievre to address some of these concerns and some of these realities that many Canadians are focused on right now. So I would expect him to, of course, touch on U.S. President Donald Trump and Canada-U.S. relations, but also in relation to that, talk about perhaps a relationship with India, perhaps a relationship with China, some of these other trips that we've seen the Prime Minister take. So much to be made about what Mr. Poilievre will say today in Toronto.
And we'll all be watching CTV Jeremy Charon live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
And back in Ottawa, the Ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs welcomed their counterparts from South Korea. Together, they announced the signing of a new deal on defense cooperation.
As strategic partners, Canada and the Republic of Korea will continue to work together and to promote regional stability, reinforcing a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific region.
The deal focuses on the exchange and protection of classified military and defense information. It's another sector where Ottawa is looking to work with Seoul following a memorandum of understanding signed last month. That document saw Canada and South Korea agree to strengthen economic collaboration in sectors like auto and battery manufacturing, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence.
A program supporting former soldiers has marked a major milestone.
It has now paired 100 veterans living with PTSD with a service dog. CTV's Dave Charbonneau has the details.
I don't know if I can put into words what Polly's brought into my life.
Army veteran John Parker spent years living in fear.
I got to a point prior to my release and after my release where I couldn't leave the house. I was really afraid of me.
But that changed 3 months ago when he met Polly, a service dog trained to help him with post-traumatic stress disorder.
And when we were introduced, there was just that instant connection both ways.
But Polly isn't just any service dog. She represents a major milestone for Wounded Warriors Canada. The organization is dedicated to supporting ill and injured vets. And Polly's canine claim to fame is being the 100th graduate of the service dog program since partnering with the Legion in 2018.
So it's already starting to show great results, and we're very, very excited about this.
On top of that, Polly, like other service dogs, is custom trained, meeting the individual needs of every vet they're paired with.
Towards the end of their training, they start customizing their learning to match the veteran's needs for their specific disability diagnosis. So Polly has some very specific skills that help mitigate John's disability.
Thanks to Polly, John and his wife say their life together is closer to what they want it to be.
Instead of going out into, let's say, a supermarket and having my head on a swivel because I'm looking for a threat, now I'm focused on her. So that little world that I'm worried about becomes much smaller and much easier to control, I think, or function in.
I think he felt guilty because he couldn't go out with me and stuff. And now, you know, we went out for our anniversary in December. We went out for Valentine's breakfast. And so we're able to, you know, reintegrate into society.
Life companions, grateful for the comforting skills of a four-legged friend.
She made it safer. She made my world safer. And she opened the door, not just to my house, but like I said, to the world.
Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
Well, a nice day to take the dog for a walk. We've got very pleasant conditions outside at this hour. And this evening, maybe head out for a skate. This is a look at what you can expect through the evening hours. Mainly clear skies. We will see cloud cover increase as the night goes on. And there's the possibility of a few flurries, dropping to a low of about -5 degrees. Here's the thing, though. Our upper air pattern does show some milder weather moving in for the end of this week and then again midweek next week. Here's the thing, though. We're going to cool down pretty dramatically on Sunday. A full look at your weekend forecast is coming up after the break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, let's talk about the forecast. It just seems like whenever I check the forecast each morning, it's a surprise. Anything can happen.
Yeah, so I think when you get a day where you've got sunshine and it's not -15, this is fabulous. I think a lot of people will be enjoying it today.
Yes, and if you like the temperature today and you enjoy the sunshine, I think you're going to like tomorrow. We've got some good news, I think, for many folks. An early taste of spring. It's just not going to last all that long, so don't get too used to it. Our temperature swings in the other direction before the weekend is even finished. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Yesterday, of course, we were talking about snow. This is what it looked like late last night in Fergus, Ontario. This is one of the communities that was very close to a snow squall warning that had been in effect all day long. Blowing snow a concern yesterday. Neither of these things are a factor today. The winds have really settled down. There's a slight chance of a few flurries here and there. And temperature-wise, we're not as mild today as we are going to be tomorrow or Saturday. But it's still decently comfortable out there. It's -4 this hour at Pearson Airport. It does feel more like -8. So make sure you throw on the layers before you venture out for an afternoon stroll. Still -5 degrees in Wyerton, -12 in North Bay. So you are going to find cooler conditions the further north you travel. Today's highs, we're on our way in Toronto as well as Niagara Falls to a daytime high of -1 degree. Similar situation in Hamilton. Expect to be closer to -3 or -4 if you're in Peterborough or Aurelia. Yesterday, we were just shy of +2, and that is our seasonal norm. So it's going to become a little more common for us to experience daytime highs on the plus side above the freezing mark. Tonight, though, this is also fairly normal for this time of year. -5 degrees for a low, wind chill -8, and then tomorrow, there it is, +5, the forecast daytime high. It's going to feel nice and comfortable. You can bet there's going to be some melting happening out there. So perhaps something you can do is make sure that any snow on the ground is cleared away from storm drains on your street or in your neighborhood. That's going to allow the water someplace to go. Winds are also going to strengthen a little bit into the day tomorrow, but they will be coming out of the south. So that's why we're seeing temperatures around 5, even 6, 7 degrees in some communities. You will find it just a little bit cooler for Central Ontario, northern parts of the province, and perhaps out east as well. Satellite and radar, we've got a big system stateside again that we are once again dodging. That's been a nice pattern for us lately. A couple of scattered flurries are going to make their way across central and eastern Ontario through the overnight hours tonight, not amounting to really anything for us here locally in the GTA. Let's pause this into your Friday. Mix of sun and cloud. At times there will be a little more cloud than sun. And then Saturday, this is another mild day. We are, however, going to watch Saturday night for the temperature falling. There is a slight chance of snow Saturday night and into the day on Sunday. Look at the difference between Saturday at 4 degrees and Sunday, -7 for the high. Overnight low back in the -teens. And it looks like it'll be a little bit of a chilly start to next week as well. That's the forecast for now. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Leafs are set to face off with the Florida Panthers tonight.
Over it goes Nylander, and Tavares shooting, scores!
The Leafs were in action against the Tampa Bay Lightning last night, and they ended up losing to the Lightning 4-2, which snapped the team's 3-game winning streak. The Leafs will look to get back into the win column when they face off against the Panthers tonight at 7.
Multiple sources are reporting the Blue Jays are reuniting with veteran pitcher Max Scherzer. The 41-year-old has reportedly agreed to a 1-year trade deal worth $3 million, which also includes the chance to earn an additional $10 million based on performance bonuses. Scherzer made 17 regular season starts for the Jays last year after dealing with a thumb injury for much of the season. He also started 3 games during the team's postseason run. So fun to watch him work the mound. Meanwhile, Scherzer's wife posted this picture on Instagram of a letter one of the couple's daughters wrote to the Blue Jays. The post reads, "Back in December, Brooke wrote this letter, put it in an envelope, and asked us to mail it to the Blue Jays. The letter reads, Dear Blue Jays, I am so sorry that you didn't win the World Series. I hope that you win next time. I hope my dad is back on the team. My whole family loves spending time in Toronto with our dad. We love the aquarium, CN Tower, and of course the stadium. I am looking forward to coming back next season. Love, Max Scherzer's daughter."
Very touching. Well, Canada's Paralympic team will be heading to Italy today. Canada is sending 50 athletes, including 19 who'll be making their Paralympic debut. They'll get a special send-off at Pearson Airport later this afternoon. Canada will compete in each sport at the Games, including alpine skiing, sledge hockey, snowboarding, and wheelchair curling. The 2026 Paralympic Winter Games will run from March 6th to the 15th.
The City of Toronto is launching a new sweepstakes, offering soccer fans a chance to attend the FIFA World Cup while supporting the future of the sport. The city is selling entries as part of its Soccer for All Legacy Program campaign. A total of 26 pairs of FIFA match invitations are set to be raffled off, including 2 for Canada's opening match on June 12th. Officials say proceeds will help deliver benefits that go well beyond the World Cup, including supporting new soccer mini pitches in equity-deserving neighborhoods. Still to come on CTV News at noon, demand for commercial real estate is expected to pick up this year. We'll have more on the trends when we return.
After waking up Torontonians for 4 decades, Marilyn Denis is stepping away from the mic.
She announced this morning she will be leaving Chum 104.5 this summer. She is an icon. She is a legend, and she joins us live now. Marilyn Denis. Hi. It's so nice to get to talk to you. We have admired you for so many years. We've been fortunate to get to talk to you off camera at times. And I have to say, we're happy for you because 40 years is such a milestone, but also a little sad that we're not going to be hearing you every morning.
Well, you're sweet to say that. Thank you, guys. Nice to see you. It really is. I looked at being in radio. I started radio in 1976 and then spent 40 years of my career at Chum, and I love Chum so much, and everything's going so well. It's hard to leave when everything's going well, but I thought that was a good benchmark to say that's enough. And maybe some people feel the same way.
I doubt that. You know, I'm such a fan of yours. I've always wanted to ask you, what made you decide back in 1976 to get involved in this radio business?
You know, I had to think about that because I had to research that in my head. I just found that there weren't any female disc jockeys. I wasn't hearing them. I was brought up in, Pittsburgh. I'm Edmonton born, but I was brought up in Pittsburgh because of my dad's work, and I used to listen to the top 40 radio stations. I thought, these guys are having fun, yes, and they play great music, yes, but I wasn't hearing any women. So when I found out there were some programs that were out there in various universities, I signed up for a university, and one that accepted me was the University of Idaho, and my freshman year I got on the radio, and I went, this is, you know what it's like, because you guys experience it too. This is where I'm supposed to be. I feel good here. Oh, absolutely. You've been ruling the roost for 40 years now, and waking up really early in the role that you have. Yes. Is sleep going to be something, or can you just not sleep in anymore? Well, prior to being here at Chum, I was with our sister station at CJ92, and I've got to call my friend Jim Ripley because he was my partner then. And I think I've been doing morning shows for 44 years. My mother used to say she used to wake up so early as a baby. I don't know. Sleeping in on the weekend is 6:30, but I don't know what that's going to look like. If anybody has any suggestions, let me know.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how did you get to Chum?
I applied. I knew my time in Calgary had come to an end in my head. They were very, very nice to me. I worked at CTV back then, and I started sending out, little air checks. And some radio stations, replied to me, which was great. But it was Chum that replied to me and asked me for an interview. They're the ones that did that. And I knew when I walked in that I felt that this building is really good. It used to be on 1331 Yonge Street. And then they asked me to come back to audition with the one and only Roger Ashby. So I came back, did my interview, did the mock-up radio show with him, and we both really felt good about it. I felt like I stuck the landing. Apparently, according to my dear Roger, he said he went to the bosses and said, she's the one. No. Do you have, it's hard to probably pick, but is there a highlight? Is there a moment that really sticks out? Because I find the day-to-day, you tend to forget all the things that you've done, but... It's so true. I think about all the wonderful people that have come through the doorways, the famous people we get to interview. That's so much fun, and the fun that we have doing, remotes and going out in the community. But I remember getting a phone call at Mount Sinai when I gave birth to my son. And the morning show decided to call him Little Elvis. And then when Adam became about 5 years old, he turned 5 years old, he went up to Roger and said, I am not Little Elvis, I am Adam. But, you go through, it's 40 years, so you're going through, marriage, child, in my case, divorce, all sorts of stuff. So it's a lifetime. So when I think of all those benchmarks, I think, wow, and not to mention all the world, events that happen, all of them very memorable. 9/11 being one of them. That's a big one. I'm sure your listeners go through all that with you. So what's next for Marilyn Denis? Nathan, do I have to tell you? Because I don't have a clue. Family time? You have anything? Yeah. Yeah, I've got a 6.5-year-old granddaughter who loves soccer. I'll be out in the soccer field watching that. My husband and I have some trips that were already planned, and we're going to continue to do that. And, you know, I will be sticking my toe into some things, some projects. But right now, I'm going to Montreal in June to give a speech. Those kind of things. Those are the things. Plans, but no plans. You know, I'm going to coast a little bit. I'll be leaving sometime this summer, and I'll have a better picture of what that is when the summer arrives.
Well, no pressure. After 4 decades, you have that right to take your time
Thank you.
and decide, Marilyn. We're going to miss you.
Well, listen, I know that I'll be watching you, too. It's so nice, Michelle and Nathan. Thank you for having me. And we'll be in touch, I know.
All the best.
Please do. We love you. Congrats on an incredible career, Marilyn. Take care.
Thank you so much.
You're watching CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The St. Jacobs Antiques Market is temporarily closing its doors, with vendors being told sales will end as of March 1st.
It comes as the owner addresses financial issues which have left some sellers still waiting to be paid. CTV's Krista Simpson has the details.
A popular destination for shoppers.
I was here Friday and it was pretty packed. All the vendors were open, all the booths were open, they were pretty full.
The St. Jacobs Antiques Market on King Street North has more than 100 unique vendors inside, according to its website, which advertises the variety of items for sale, as well as movie prop rentals. But vendors have been told the doors will be closed temporarily starting March 1st. While the store remains open for now, customers are already seeing a difference.
I came in today and there's maybe a couple booths open. A lot of them are shut down. Half the vendors are in there packing up their stuff right now.
In emails sent to vendors shared with CTV News, the business's owner writes that the store's bank account has been frozen. It also indicates checks meant for vendors were returned. The messages say paying vendors is the priority. When reached by CTV News, management would only say the business is under restructuring and renegotiation. The struggles coming as a shock to some.
Even on Friday, I always joke around with the man because I'm always here. And he was like, okay, see you next week. And you couldn't tell anything was happening or anything was shutting down. So it's wild to see that difference in just a couple days.
Krista Simpson, CTV News.
Demand for commercial real estate is expected to pick up this year, due in part to workers being forced to return to in-person work. Royal LePage's 2026 commercial real estate report forecasts a gradual recovery to continue for the office sector. Leasing activity is expected to increase across Canada's biggest cities as more companies abandon those remote work models that were implemented during the pandemic. 2/3 of commercial real estate experts surveyed expect demand for office space to either modestly increase or remain the same in their market in 2026.
Coming up, discovering a celebrity connection. A BC photographer recently found a link between her father and one of the most famous movie stars of the 1970s. A BC photographer who's followed in her father's footsteps has discovered a unique celebrity connection.
It all happened after she found an old box of her father's negatives. CTV's Adam Zawatsky reports.
When she started working as a photographer,
no idea that it would come this far.
Susan Swindells was dismissive of digital.
It's like, oh, digital can never be as good as film.
And never expected to find an envelope full of noteworthy negatives in her father's old files.
That's in my dad's writing, Burt Reynolds. What have we got?
Turns out they were taken at a wedding.
Burt Reynolds and Victoria in a wedding? Can't be right?
But after Susan developed them, she saw her dad's writing wasn't wrong. Burt was the best man.
Took the pictures and had no idea who he was until later.
Her dad, Roy Swindells, ran Just Right Photos when these pictures were taken back in 1962, a decade before Deliverance turned Burt Reynolds into a star.
So he was just treating him like the best man and having to carry camera equipment or whatever.
So Susan went searching for answers online and discovered Burt was best friends with the groom who'd fallen in love with a woman from Victoria. And the actor later cast his BC buddy in small parts in major movies like Smokey and the Bandit.
What do you do besides drive fast?
Have fun. When I was telling people, some people go, who's Burt Reynolds? My younger co-workers for sure had to look it up.
While Bert's fame since becoming one of the biggest stars in the 70s and 80s may have faded, Susan says her love and admiration for the man who took the pictures endures.
I mean, my dad's been gone for 20 years now and brings it back to life.
So, no matter whether you're taking photos with film or doing it digitally,
All my pictures now are done on the phone.
capturing a celebrity is certainly superficially satisfying.
Just kind of fun to reminisce about.
But it's preserving the memories we make with family and friends, Susan has learned, that prove to be the most meaningful.
Something that can be a shared thing, and looking at pictures. I love it.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Langley.
Yeah, I can't believe that was kept a secret in that family for so long.
Probably you never asked, right? If you talk to your grandparents, they tell you all these stories.
Good point.
It's
They'll
like,
tell you nothing.
Right? Oh, I love it. Wonderful. Okay, we're heading closer to the weekend. Guide us through.
Okay, well, I just want to point out this image behind us, a reminder that ice is going to be very unsafe on waterways, lakes, ponds as well, because we've got some mild weather on the way for tomorrow and for Saturday. But here's one more look at our satellite and radar. We've had some cloud clear through the day today, and that is expected to continue through this afternoon. Overnight tonight, -5 for the low, wind chill -8. Bit of an increase in cloud cover does happen later this evening, but tomorrow expect a mix of sun and cloud or mainly cloudy skies at times. Look at that forecast daytime high though, +5. I think many of us will take that. Still mild on Saturday at 4 degrees, but what a difference into Sunday. -7 degrees, the expected high. That's it. And it looks like we'll be chilly for at least the start of next week. Becoming milder again midweek. Nathan and Misha.
All right, not too bad. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.